Good morning. What a beautiful day. What a delight to see so many faces with us this morning. Faces that we haven't seen in a while, brand new faces that we have yet to meet. It's just, I'm surprised at how delighted I am every Sunday morning to see faces. And all of your faces out there in our virtual community, welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We are a community gathered to nurture spiritual growth, deep connection, and faithful action for a better world. I'm the Reverend Sara LaWall. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community as your minister. All who join us in the spirit of curiosity, love, and justice are welcome this morning. Whoever you are, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whoever you love and however you identify, you are welcome here. Whether you are with us every Sunday or just a few times a year, or you're joining us for the very first time, we're so glad you're here. So let's just take a moment of greeting one another. I'll invite you both to turn around and wave to our online community at the cameras in the back there, because we want to remember we are still one community. But also turn and look around and wave to each other. See if you can recognize each other's faces, because it's been a while maybe since you've seen some of those. You know, we know, and we've been talking about this for a while now, that at some point we'll be able to fully gather without too many restrictions. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever not have any. And so I know that we are due for a party. We are due for an opportunity to come back together and see each other. So we've been talking about that in a lot of leadership spaces and thinking about when would be a good time to do that. And of course, as we launch our annual Giving Drive campaign, we'll have our Celebration Sunday, which will be celebrated out here in our beautiful courtyard in our grounds. And that will be one opportunity that we get to celebrate in space together, face to face. Today is the final worship service before I take my sabbatical leave, which begins Wednesday, because I knew I'd need a few extra days to tidy things up. I wouldn't be able to handle it all by Sunday. And I'm really grateful to be sharing this service today with so many fabulous worship leaders, with Patricia Heeb, who is serving as our celebrant this morning, members of the Committee on Ministry who are serving as our sabbatical task force while I am away, along with our fabulous music team, Carrie Bastian, our music director, and our Boise UU Choir, and our special guest musician today, Carrie's daughter, Bonnie Blakely. And of course, as always, Jim Emerson-Paige, our Director of Family Ministries, who will be sharing our Time for All Ages live and in person this morning, and whose reflections always feel like I get to have a little mini sermon that I didn't have to deliver in our Sunday morning services. In the spirit of our mission to build beloved community that centers justice, equity, and compassion, let us take a moment to acknowledge our gathering upon native land.
As we gather together, we acknowledge that the land upon which our church and homes exist is the ancestral land stolen from the people of the Shoshone-Bannock, the Shoshone-Paiute, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai, and Nez Perce nations, along with many other tribes whose names have been lost in history. We acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our ongoing commitment to the work of dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor Indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
I want to take a special moment to welcome the newcomers among us. We know it takes a lot of courage to seek out a new community, and we're delighted that you have joined us this morning, whether you're joining us here in person or all of our newcomers online. We invite you to share in the chat. Just introduce yourself in the chat so our online community can warmly welcome you, and fill out our newcomer form. The link to that form will be posted in the chat, and newcomers among us can find us on the handy bookmark of QR codes on your seat, and that will take you right there. And that allows us to keep you up to date with all that is happening in our fellowship. And there's so much happening that you can choose to engage with, to connect with new people and meet new faces in our fellowship. Some of it's online, some of it's in person, from neighborhood pods to adult RE classes to book groups and meditation. There are just a couple of quick announcements that I want to share with you this morning. A reminder that we're continuing RSVPs for worship services, but if you look around and notice, we've added a few more seats. We've expanded our capacity a little bit. So we are slowly but surely working to catch up with the ever-changing data, which is like, so we're just taking our time to figure out where we're going to fall in all of that and what we're going to do. So if you want to continue to join us for in-person worship, we just ask that you take a moment to RSVP. And we are also still opening up nominations for next year's Plate Partners. These are the organizations that we support by donating 25% of our unpledged plate offering each month. Yesterday, it was a real gift to be able to join a number of you at the Capitol steps for the Planned Parenthood rally, where we were able to present them our Plate Partner check at that time and during that rally to show our faithful support. And words of Misty Tolman that have been rattling in my head are that the idea that faith communities support medical care, abortion care, access for reproductive care and reproductive justice, not in spite of our faith, but because of it. And I've been replaying those words that she has heard us express time and time again. So thank you, all of those of you who were able to join me in that check presentation. Our plate partner for this month of March, however, is our very own scholarship program for our partner church in Mejska, Transylvania. Transylvania being the home, the birthplace of Unitarianism, and we've had a partner church relationship with the good people of Mejska for more than 25 years. The Plate Partner funds serve as scholarships for the young people of the community as they decide to go to university, to help them pay for expenses and tuition and books and costs related to that. And we're delighted to have 3 scholars we're sponsoring this year. It's a really beautiful and wonderful partnership, and I look forward, that's their church there in Mejska. Many of us have been there. I look forward to returning at some point in the future. We no longer have a specific time for collecting our offering during the worship service, but as you know, there are 115 ways to give. And you can choose any one or multiple ones, whether you're giving from your app on your phone, going to our website at boiseuu.org, or writing a check and leaving it with us today or sending it in the mail. We are grateful for all of the ways that you support this fellowship and the justice ministries of our plate partners. Our spiritual theme for this month of March is renewing faith. And you all know I've been just really digging into this one. It's so deep and powerful. And of course, it resonates so deeply as I continue to reflect on the value and importance of renewing our faith individually and collectively, especially as I embark on this sabbatical. Today brings together deep gratitude for our community, beautiful blessings for the work that we have done together, for the justice we've championed, and the continued connection, reflection, and renewal into which we are all invited. So in the spirit of that renewal, I invite us all to take a breath together. Let yourself come fully present into this space, into your space at home, into your body. Set aside all of those little burdens and anxieties just for this time together. And breathe, knowing that our breath connects us to each other, to our planet, and to our spiritual center. There is so much distress and grief in our world, even as there is also so much beauty and joy. This is the essence of faith. Breathe it in. I invite you to hear the words of our opening prayer this morning, words that I have shared with you nearly every week for 6.5 years. Today, I speak this prayer as a prayer to all of you, to this beloved community. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless stream.
Thank you, Bonnie and Carrie. Wow. Each week, we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith and a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We join in this lighting in solidarity with thousands of Unitarian Universalists in homes and in virtual spaces and in churches, reminding us that we're a part of a larger community and a whole bunch of people that are interested. I lost my place. So we're joining a lot of other people this morning, welcoming spring and being happy to be together. This is the time for lighting our chalice. So after a couple of years of not seeing our little chalice lighters this morning, we are so pleased to have Sylvia Strop come join us to light the chalice this morning. For all of you in your virtual spaces, we invite you to get a chalice nearby and light it while we light the chalice here in the sanctuary. And if you feel like it, enter into the chat where your chalice is lit. With our collective chalices lit in all of our spaces, we offer you this call to worship from Pablo Neruda. This is keeping quiet. And now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once, on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold seas would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurting hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with fire, wars with gas, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it's all about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-handed, so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth could teach us, and when everything seems dead, later proves to be alive. Now, I'll count to 12, and you keep quiet, and I'll go. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, friends. It's been so long since I've stood in front of you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a little nervous. I've brought my traveling wonder board, a special feature for you all. Everyone, get a little extra cozy in our seats and our chairs at home for our Time for All Ages this morning. I have been so busy this morning. I forgot breakfast, forgot my phone somewhere, I forgot so many things. I'm a little shaking. I wonder if you've ever been this busy, too busy, overwhelmingly busy. I think it's really easy for us to do that. There's not enough time for everything. So we have to sit and ask ourselves, what do we have time for? And there's a lot of ways to answer that question. I kind of want to think that through with everyone today. How much of our time do we spend focusing on what's necessary and important for our joy and our well-being? How much of our attention do we give away to busyness and distractions? These are really big questions. When I was little, stop doing it. When I was little, everywhere I went, I found a rock. I saw the most beautiful rock on every walk to school, every walk around my neighborhood, and I'd collect them in my pockets till my pockets filled up, and I would go home and I'd empty them into my sock drawer until my mom found them dirtying up all of my clothes that she had freshly laid out, and she said, no more. No more rocks. We have to find a different storage for them. I have a beautiful jar here and a wonderful assistant. Assistant, I'm wondering if you can come up and help me out. So my mom gave me this jar and she said, you can only have what fits in your jar. This is your new rock jar. And so I looked at my pile of rocks. I had really big rocks. I had regular medium-sized rocks. I had really, really small ones. I don't know why I saved them, but I had the smallest rocks. And so I looked at my pile and I decided to start with the big rocks. There's not so many of them. It's easier to figure out how to set them in. Assistant, would you help me lay them with no overlap in our jar? Yes. Let's see how many we can fit. Yeah, I love felt. Sticks on its own. So I took the time so carefully. I loved these rocks, so I, a little bit religiously, plopped them in my jar, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. It wasn't very many until my jar was full. I'd done it. I wasn't done. I had just filled my jar, and I still had so many more rocks to do. My friends, is the jar full? No? Can't fit any more. Try one more. Doesn't really fit. I think that my jar is full. No! Oh my gosh, I can't trick any of you. So I grabbed my jar, and I shook it. Wondering if our young at heart can grab your jar in front of you and shake it, see if you can get the rocks to settle. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of room. I started in on my medium-sized pile. I love making piles and organizing by shape. Let's get started on our medium-sized pile, and these we can stick in any of the gap that we just kind of over them. Little rocks have a gift of kind of fitting into whatever space. And what a beautiful gift. And so I sat in front of my rock jar, reverently adding in, shaking as I went to try and fit more rocks in until the last one settled in. Is my jar full? I'm hearing some no's, I'm hearing some yeses. This is interesting. My family regularly goes to the beach. Part of my special rock collection was sand. My lovely assistant, will you help me as I poured the sand into, use your imagination if you will. I poured sand into my jar, and so much of the sand fit, not all of it, a lot of it. Yes. Just cram as much as you can. Thank you, assistant. Thank you so much, assistant. Thank you. I ask one more time, is the jar full? I'm going to assure you all that the jar is as full as it can. Tiny, 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 tiny grains of sand. Fill it all the way up to the brim. We'll use our imaginations. The jar is full. We're done. The jar of my childhood, my rock jar, didn't last very long. I broke it pretty fast, trying to fit more rocks in. The jar represents our life. the time and attention that we have available to us. Sometimes it does get too full. Sometimes we question, is it full? Can I do a little more? Can I fit a little more? And it gets overwhelming. And there comes a time when we have to unpack our jar. And we have to look. We take out everything, we pour it out on the ground. And we have our big rocks. The most important things in our lives that have true value to us. Our family, our loved ones, our passion, our well-being. If everything else was lost, the pebbles and the sand, and only these big rocks remain, your life still has meaning. It still has joy and promise. And I wonder, what are the rocks in your life? Who is most important to you? Who are your loved ones? I wonder what makes you special as you take out your jar and think, what are the rocks in your life? Pebbles, it's a little tricky. Some are bigger, some are smaller. But these are things that might be a little less permanent. You could live without them, or you can live while they change. They give your life meaning, your specific job, your house, your hobbies, your casual friendships. But they come and go. They aren't permanent, and they aren't truly essential. Sand is everything else. All of the small stuff, all of the busyness, tracking your phone, writing that email, doing your homework, driving to school, commuting. Yes, boo. These things don't mean much to your life as a whole and are likely to only get done as small tasks. There's a lot of little pieces. I wonder, this is a big sweep. We've unpacked our jar. Pardon me. I wonder if we start with the sand, if we start with the emails and the homework. Thank you, assistant. If we start with the small stuff and the busyness, how much can you add of your rocks? Not very much. If you fill your time first with busyness, you don't get to that big essential, those big priorities. If we start with the rocks, we have just enough of everything else. We can procrastinate on the little things. We can procrastinate on our hobbies, on our email a little bit. But we want these big rocks in our lives, and so we want to give ourselves the blessing of taking time to unpack them. During Reverend Sarah's sabbatical, she's going to be unpacking her own jar. And she's going to sort through what's really important, and we want to support her in that. It's up to her to figure out what the rocks are, to remember and reaffirm. But on her way, we want to give her some helpful guides. And I wonder if my second lovely assistant will come up with all of these lovely cards and blessings from the families for how you can spend your time, the joys that you might find on your way. Enough of the sand. Yes. So we have some artistic ones, the raging mount, or the raining? Carissa, what does your mountains one say? To spend time among the loving mountains, to have a good time and to stay safe, to spend time on the little bridge, spend time on the green belt. We want you to fill your jar with these beautiful blessings from our hearts to yours. Folks, there's so many more, but we'll let you keep those. May we hold all of these blessings tenderly in the months and the years to come. Let us bring this attentiveness to our own lives and our time that we do spend together. Please join me now in singing our community blessing as we bless this beloved community with song, where together we live, laugh, love, where we live out our values, where we grow together. We do laugh. Fill your life with laughter. Thank you, folks.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Thank you, Jim and Sylvia and Ted and Carissa. Thank you for that beautiful reminder of sometimes we have to clean our jar out, start all over again, figure out which rocks are the most important, and to remember that when we're adding new rocks, maybe we're taking some out, not trying to cram it all in there. One really beautiful and important rock of this community is justice work. And that has always been prevalent and present in the life of this fellowship and in the way that you articulated what was important to you. It was what drew me to this congregation when I read your materials online when I was in search. In 2019, this congregation embarked on a social justice project that would become a defining signature moment for us. We, with a call from a colleague of mine, we answered her invitation, or her call even, to sponsor an asylum seeker as a congregation. And this opportunity was the result of the cumulative impact of what was happening at that time, of families being separated at the border in the wave of Central American migrants fleeing violence, persecution, and economic collapse. We didn't really go looking for this project. We sort of bumped into it. But this community embraced it with such wholehearted passion and commitment, with love and with joy, and it connected us together in beautiful and surprising ways. I mean, go back, take your mind back to the before times of 2019, when we were, which feels like 14 decades ago, when we were preparing for this and talking about this and raising money for this and having all these dinners. And we were imagining what it would be like could we actually do this thing together? It gave us a purpose, a common purpose, a chance to help, to be of service in the world, a chance to remember how it felt. Remember back, it was 2019. 2019, we had not had an election yet. How it felt to live in a place of hope and miracles and create them for our own selves in our own place, a place of community and connection, not just for ourselves, but a place where all are truly welcome, a place where all are beloved, where all those things become the light that shines so brightly that when darkness descends. And so we first met our asylum seeker, Romel Rodriguez Vindel, through a glitchy video call to the detention center in Shreveport, Louisiana, where he was being held after a harrowing journey across our border, all the way from Honduras. After extraordinary work in planning and preparation, after team members from here traveled to Miami, and I traveled to Shreveport, Romel arrived in Boise to begin this new chapter of his life on the road to seeking full asylum. What Romel picked up on early on is that while he was forced to leave his beloved family back home in Honduras, he gained a new extended family that awaited him here in Boise. And he named them and claimed them from day one. Those particular project leaders who played a significant key role in the project Romel blessed his new abuela, Diana Barrero Lowe, with whom he lived for many months. He claimed another mom and dad in Kathy Sandstrom and Scott Smith, who took on the official legal title of sponsors. And he gained hundreds of tíos, tías, primos, primas, y muchos amigos nuevos, aunts, uncles, cousins, and many, many new friends in this fellowship. I happen to know that Romel thinks he got lucky, but the truth is, we got luckier. Romel has been a shining light, a force of sheer courage and love with no limit to what he has shown us despite obstacle after obstacle after obstacle that was thrown in his way. Determined to plant new roots and craft a life here among us, he has succeeded beyond all measures. But there is one more hurdle that he still faces, and that is his final court hearing, which will determine if he will be granted asylum. That hearing is just 3 weeks away on April 11th. So before I left, I wanted to mark this momentous project yet again and offer Romel a blessing to carry with him into this hearing and beyond, to remind him that no matter the outcome of the hearing, we will always be his family, cheering him on, making room at our tables, and welcoming him in our midst. So Romel, I'm going to invite you to please come up, and Romel, would you bring with you Chris and Santiago? And I'll invite our leaders to come up as well, our key leaders in this project, Diana, Kathy, Scott, and Betty. So proud of you. It just occurred to me, oh, this is so sweet. You know, we celebrated you back in November when you came on Zoom with us, and we did a worship service together, but it just occurred to me that so many folks here have never met you in person. So this is their first chance of getting to actually see you. Yeah. Okay, so you just stand right here. So each of our leaders, I'm going to invite you leaders to grab your token, has a token, a small token, representing 5 integral elements of life: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Each token also representing a particular ritual in the life of this fellowship, imbued with the love and faith and meaning of this community. You grab that bag. That's for you to put your tokens in. So we have this bag for Romel, this little our little soulful spirit bags, made by one of our children, or decorated by one of our children, and so you can just put all of your things in here. And after you give your token to Romel, I'll ask you to just keep a hand on him for our blessing. So you feel free to shift yourselves around as you need to. So for the power of the earth, the ground of our being, we give you this stone from our stones of community ritual. This stone which has held our joys and sorrows for ourselves, for each other, for you and the world. May this stone ground you in our love. For the power of air, we offer you this origami peace crane. May you find that inner peace and be a keeper of peace in the world, and may it remind you to soar. For the power of fire, we offer you a chalice, a beautiful chalice crafted by one of our very own BUUF members, Jay Wexelberger. Chalice is the symbol of our free faith, of freedom, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. May it remind you that the spark of the divine lives in you always, and may it always light your way. And for the power of water, we offer you our holy waters of this community, the blessing of flow. May you be renewed as we anoint and bless your heart, mind, and spirit, your thoughts, words, and deeds. And for the power of spirit, the power of love everlasting and love transforming, we offer you this heart, the love of our hearts, a symbol of love everlasting. May you always know what you already know, that your love has the power to change the world and to change lives. And may you feel that transforming power of love change you. Friends at home and friends among us, I invite you to join us in the words of blessing for Romel. And Santiago and Chris, come. So Chris is Romel's partner. Come on over here, Chris. You come here. And Santiago is your nephew, right?
Yes.
Yes, from Honduras. Welcome. Put a hand on this guy. Yeah, put your hand of blessing. All right, here we go. Romel. May you carry our love and care with you always. May you feel the connection to this community, this family, surrounding you in all your days. We celebrate you, we honor you, we pray with you. We are with you always. Romel says thank you. We will be thinking of you on April 11th. All of us. We look out here, and then there's 100 more people out there. Maybe 75, hard to say. All of us will have you in our hearts. You're welcome. Those are the moments of this work that those are the rocks that I want to keep in my jar. They are what feed me in this work of ministry. And it's just been such an extraordinary blessing to move through this project together and to watch it come to life. And then, Romel, once you arrive, to watch you move it and move us forward and just continue to just be a beacon of hope and joy and love and freedom and survival and all that means. These are the moments where I think I never imagined this life for myself. I never imagined I would grow up to be a minister. This was not part of the dream for my life. It certainly is an awesome dream in the moment, especially right now. Even as I look back and can see the trail of breadcrumbs that led me down this path, a path that so clearly began when I was a young teenager. And I sometimes feel a sense of utter amazement and disbelief that this is the work that I get to do in the world. Ministers often talk about our ministry as a calling, and the stories of our ministry as a call to ministry. But make no mistake, ministry is not the only vocation in life for which there is a calling. You can be called to do a great many things in this world, but we like to talk about it. Sometimes we get a little arrogant about it. But unlike some of my colleagues, I did not experience some grand call to ministry. No peak moment on a mountaintop or in the middle of the ocean, or when the clouds parted and the voice came down from the heavens to speak to me. No religious guru or revered Buddhist monk whispered to me that I should be a minister. My call was so much more pragmatic and frankly boring. But the one constant, the one thing that drew me in and kept me going was my faith, my Unitarian Universalist faith. The moment I found Unitarian Universalism, I knew that I was home. I knew that my life would change in some way. I just didn't quite know how. I was already working as the director of religious education at neighborhood UU Church in Pasadena when I began seminary at Meadville Lombard Theological School. Meadville is one of 2 Unitarian Universalist seminaries in our country, the other being Starr King in Berkeley. I was accepted, I began Meadville in 2010, in 2009, but I'd actually applied and been accepted 2 years earlier, and then I got pregnant with our second kiddo, and so I just kept deferring my start date for a little while, not able to imagine how to start seminary with a baby. These days, my colleagues just bring their babies with them. I didn't even know that was an option. And I'm not sure I would have chosen it anyway. I chose Meadville specifically because I wanted a Unitarian Universalist seminary and because they were one of the few seminaries in the country that had a distance learning program, which seems silly to imagine at this point, but which meant that I would not have to pack up my life and my career and my family and move across the country and give up my job working for a church to go get a degree that would qualify me to work for a church. So I was very grateful for the vision that Meadville held for those of us who were working in the church and working in other jobs to be able to begin the process of our formation in ministry. And each step along the way felt more like just the next right thing than any kind of huge, momentous decision, until we came here to Boise. That decision was a little momentous. Saying goodbye to California after 17 years where we'd planted roots and found careers, where we, by some miracle, bought a house in California and Los Angeles, started our family, and then packed up everything we owned in one car and one pod storage unit, and moved to Idaho to begin my first ever solo parish ministry. It felt more than a little daunting. I could not even fathom getting to sabbatical. I feel like I can tell you this and be really honest with you now after almost 7 years. In the process of settling ourselves here, we would tell ourselves, we'll give it 5 years. We can do anything for 5 years. 5 years have come and gone so quickly. And life has changed so dramatically, and we are still here. In 2010, a New York Times article shared that members of the clergy suffer from obesity, hypertension, and depression at rates higher than most Americans. In the last decade, this was in 2010, pre-pandemic, their use of antidepressants had risen, while their life expectancy had fallen. I'm glad I didn't read that article when I was going into ministry. A poll conducted then in 2021, a year after the pandemic had gone in full force by the Barna Group, a research group that studies faith and culture, reported that 38% of pastors thought about quitting during the pandemic, and that number rose to 46% for pastors under the age of 45. We ministers, like all of you, are products of our culture that demands productivity and outcomes, a culture that wears busyness and exhaustion as a badge of honor. We face the same implicit and explicit pressures of our capitalist extractive systems that shows us that our success, happiness, and wealth is dependent upon how much we work. And then we add to that the tangled details of this notion of a higher calling, of moral and spiritual duty, of an urgency of care for all the ills and needs and people of our community and the world. So I suppose I can understand those statistics a little bit. But ministers and faith communities should be models and laboratories for countercultural norms, where rest is championed and spaciousness is celebrated, where we make a conscious choice to move at a slower pace and to tend to relationships over tasks, to love and laugh and sing together. And I know that's hard. I find myself slipping back into the productive mode all the time, where we center sipping coffee and tea and reminding each other that this life is this moment, where we choose the sacred over the sensational, to commune with all that we call holy in this world. And too much busyness and too much productivity gets in the way of that. I've since, being a minister, read all of those articles about clergy burnout. You can imagine how they spiral through our communication circles quite frequently. And then, of course, there are all those anecdotal stories of ministers never taking a vacation or rarely taking a day off, let alone a sabbatical. And I took heed. Not me, I boasted to myself, then that will not happen to me. I'm pretty intentional about taking my vacation time, all my vacation time, and regular time off, but in the past 2 years especially, and in the past 6 months, my life has turned upside down and my schedule upside down, and I tipped over the edge. Burnout is on the rise in every profession and in every stage of life, especially under the weight of this pandemic and now the threat of war. These grand existential crises over which we have very little control take a toll on our collective mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. The average length of most congregational ministries is less than 7 years. So many ministers never even make it to sabbatical. And now I understand that if I want to continue to thrive in ministry, it is time for me to rest and reset. Thank you, Sandra. A sabbatical in religious life simply means rest. The word sabbatical shares its etymology with the Hebrew Shabbat, or the anglicized term Sabbath, days of rest. Literally, these words mean ceasing. Like a field needs rest, needs simply to lie fallow in order to continue to nurture and sustain growth, so do all of us. It's often difficult to articulate why this work of ministry is so demanding and stressful. It combines the roles of CEO, spiritual leader, and caregiver, each on their own being full and vital roles, but it's more than that, really. My colleague, the Reverend Sharon Wiley, described it beautiful in her own pre-sabbatical sermon. She reminded us that we ministers are in a relationship with each and every one of you. This means that 300 or so, some regular members, friends, and newcomers that are part of this fellowship are part of my heart and ministry. I care about you. I worry about you, all of you. Even if you think this could not possibly apply to you, let me assure you that it does. Even if you are a first-time visitor, I worry about what yearning or hurt brought you here, and I worry you will give up too soon. I worry that you won't make friends right away, and you'll retreat, and you'll miss out. I could make a list for you of people who've come back here once or twice, or even regularly for a while and then just drifted away. I worry about all of those people. If I know anything about your life, I worry about you. I pray for you. I worry about your spiritual health. I want what's best for you. I worry about your children and your parents and your partners, your relationships, your friendships with each other. I worry about your resistance to change. I worry about your anger and your grief and your fear. But that's what it is to be a minister, to carry in our hearts at all times those worries for all of you, for the struggles and challenges that we all share. And I carry these knowing that these are not mine to bear or resolve, but mine to witness. And when the time comes, when you invite me and let me, they are mine to tend to, not to try and cure, but simply hold, care for, in brief moments of time. What we have here is precious and beautiful. Fewer and fewer people go to church these days, and more do not even consider themselves religiously affiliated. And yet here we are, week after week, showing up for each other, for ourselves, and for the world. I want this and us to continue to grow and stretch as we live out our faith in the world for decades to come. And so I'm going to try to set it all aside for a while and give some space and rest so that we can sustain new growth and vitality and love well into our future. Many of you have asked me, what will you do on your sabbatical? Well, with just a few more days to go, my gut reaction is as little as possible. Of course, I will do plenty. I have a lot of plans, several personal writing projects I've been mulling around for a while now, never creating enough space to begin. I plan on several small personal retreats by myself for ample reflection time, in addition to visits to dear family and friends, some of whom I haven't seen in more than 2 years. And I'm also excited just to putz around my house and clean closets and cook and read books leisurely on my patio. And I'll probably watch a fair amount of Netflix. But in all these words that I've said about sabbatical, what I want to hold for you is that this sabbatical isn't just for me. It certainly is a gift for me, and I treasure that. The Committee on Ministry and I have been talking a lot about how you might find ways to embody the ideas and concepts of sabbatical here together with each other, even just if it's just for a few days at a time. In preparing for this time, in working with all the team leaders and the board to ensure coverage, I drafted a few intentions for this sabbatical time to invite all of us, myself included, to consider together. I will be sitting with them because I want to come back with a deeper sense of balance and spiritual reflection and tender care for the whole of our religious body and spiritual life, not just my own. And I want that to continue for long after my return. So here are my invitations to all of you. Focus on what's essential. And when I say the word essential, I mean the core calling of community: care, connection, relationships, love, presence, not the tasks, but the essential core of who we are to one another and to this world. The tasks will happen or they won't. But holding on to what's essential will be a helpful guidepost. And considering what's essential, I invite all of us to get good at hearing and saying no. Being willing to let go of things that you do not have capacity for right now, or being willing to set them aside and pick them up at a later time, and celebrating each other when you're able to do that. I invite you to play. I know it's really hard to play when the world feels heavy. So I invite you to keep experimenting, keep inviting creativity to show up, have fun, let go of perfection and doing it the right way. There is no right way. Say it with me. There is no right way. I invite you to chant that over and over and over again until you feel it just a little bit. Create spaces of rest. Here, together in community, in your own lives, create spaces of rest. Invite yourself to embody the spirit of sabbatical. Take naps, take walks, set things down. Be present with one another without an agenda. And practice flexibility. Be nimble. See problems as opportunities for learning and as points of celebration. A sabbatical is such an incredible gift. It's a gift of care and commitment and trust and love, and I am beyond grateful for this time and beyond grateful for all of you, especially our board and committee on ministry and staff and team leaders for championing and supporting this opportunity. This kind of extended period of rest and renewal should be available to everyone. It really should. And I do sincerely hope you will make an effort to bring that rest and renewal and play and flexibility to the front and center of your own lives and the life of this beautiful, beloved community. I love you dearly. You are an incredible congregation. Thank you for this gift. I will steward it well until I return in September. Thank you. Amen. I've been really struggling to try to figure out, is this a joy or a sorrow? I feel so much emotion in these weeks leading up to this moment, and yet I will miss you dearly. It will be hard not to tune in virtually and take a peek and see what's happening. I told the worship team that I had a colleague who confessed that he was like 3 weeks into his sabbatical and he'd tuned into worship on Zoom several times because he missed them. And I thought, that's really adorable. That's so sweet. And so, you never know. But we celebrate each other. We remember to invite each other into this space of renewal and joy and play, and to the harshness and challenges of life, to remind each other that we are not alone, that we journey together, held up by the spirit of our beloveds. And so we take a time each week to share the joys and sorrows of our community, to express care and love for one another. Our friends on Zoom, you are invited to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. If you ever would like to share a joy and sorrow to be read aloud, friends, you can do so by filling out a blue card in the basket up here or sharing one online, and you can find the form from the QR code. Of course, we hold the joy of Romel's place with us and the hopeful prayers for the best possible outcome for his hearing. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of care that we might hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all of our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. May we be vessels of comfort and compassion. May we be vessels of hope and healing. May we be vessels of peace and justice. May love prevail. Let us breathe together. Fill your body with breath. Breathe into this moment of rest. Breathe with this beloved community, filled with loving kindness. Breathe with wholeheartedness. Listen to what is calling you in the silence.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay.
'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand,
You can reach out your hand.
And oh, someone will come running.
And I know they'll take you home.
even when the dark comes crashing through.
When you need a friend to carry you.
And when you're broken on the ground, you will be found.
So let the sun come streaming in.
'Cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again.
Lift your head and look around. You will be found.
You will be found.
You will be found. You will be found.
You will be found. There's a place where we don't have to feel unknown.
And every time that you call out, you're a little less alone.
If you only say the word, from across the silence, your voice is heard. Oh, someone will come running. Oh, to take you home. Take you home. Someone will come running to take you home. Take you home. Take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, that you'll reach up and you'll rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. Out of the shadows, the morning is breaking, and all is new. All is new. It's filling up the empty, and suddenly I see that all is new. All is new. You are not alone. 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 Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need someone to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come
I love that version because those are fans who recorded that song, some of whom happen to be professionals, but you can see like the deep passion and love for the opportunity to get to sing that together.
A blessing for Reverend Sara upon her sabbatical departure. The grandmother tree on our land lasted for a century. Perhaps she provided shade to the animals corralled here for decades, just like the trees of this verdant valley shaded those early inhabitants who sought rest by the banks of a wild and natural river we now know as the Boise River.
From her roots came an entire grove of silver poplar trees, each one sending deep into the soil its roots, each one sending its branches up to the sun.
Their roots interconnected into a web of sustaining nourishment. Their branches harbored birds and insects. The shade they cast provided cool respite for small creatures.
And then she began to release her physical being, and after many years, all that was left was a small amount of humus and a whole grove, green grove.
Today, we will plant these lily bulbs into rich soil made loamy by the addition of the grandmother tree's leavings. They will bide their time in the soil, and then green shoots will emerge.
Each week, we will pour refreshing water over the soil, water containing drops of our own sacred waters collected by our congregation for years and years during our summer's adventures.
For a while, it will look like very little is happening. But then, in the late summer, the bulbs will give forth flowers, harbingers of Reverend Sara's return to us from her sabbatical.
So too will our congregation reveal how it has used wisely and well the spiritual nourishment you have engendered in us. We all will have flourished. Now will you join us in reading this sabbatical blessing for Reverend Sara? Reverend Sara, we bless you in your journey. We are well rooted, so freely go, knowing that all will be well. May you return renewed, refreshed, and ready to lead us more deeply into the ways of love, faith, and gratitude. Amen.
Choir, come on up. Really quickly while they're getting into place. So a few rehearsals ago, Reverend Sara and I, I'll back up a little bit, had planned the choir's performance schedule, and we thought we were all set. And at rehearsal, the choir asked me, they said, well, we are singing her last Sunday in the pulpit, right? And I looked at the calendar and I thought, oops. So these lovely people wanted to make sure that we sing you on your way. And I
talked to our accompanists and realized that that was not on their schedule. So today I will be accompanying, and I'm so grateful to have my daughter here today who will take my role of director. And I knew just the perfect song to sing today for you, Reverend Sarah. And I'm going to admonish the choir with good diction so that all of you receive this blessing as well. But it's a blessing of deep peace. And Romel, we send it to you and to all of us in these difficult times who need this. And thank you to Gwen for typing up these beautiful words, and I will hand them to you. Thank you.
Dear
Oh, y'all, I'm verklempt. So, Carrie probably knew or just forgot that I get all the choir emails. So, which means that I saw like special performance for Reverend Sarah and then deleted them, every one that I saw after that. I was like, I'm not gonna read it, I'm not gonna read it. And then on Thursday, Rachel brings me all the checks and I sign a check for Bonnie and I'm like, oh wow, Bonnie's gonna be with us. You can't keep a secret from your minister. Except that I had no idea the choir wasn't originally planned to be here today. Like, I'd long forgotten what our schedule was, and so I thought that, so bless you. Bless you for thinking of that and being here. I just thought we were smart enough to plan it in advance, but currently not. So I have one more fun thing that I want to share with you, and bless our board leadership, who gave me some beautiful gifts at our board meeting on Thursday. And they gave me a shirt. And it feels a little bit heretical to take my robe off at the pulpit, but we're built on heresy here at as Unitarian Universalists, so I'm going to do it. I'm clothed, I promise. It's a good one. It says, "Sorry, I can't. I'm on sabbatical." I'm going to wear it to the basketball game today that we're watching this afternoon. I'm going to wear it every day. Friends, I invite you to rise here as you are able in this room, and our friends online, if you place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing and prayer. For the deep peace offered up by the earth and the stars and the sun and the moon, may we welcome it, sink into it, let go, renewing our weary spirits. For the incredible blessings we have shared together, may we carry them with us as reminders of the renewing power of our faith. For the force of love that we have forged together, even when it is hard, may we nurture it, grow it, and share it within, among, and beyond our walls. There is a power in being found for all the ways we have found each other. I am deeply grateful. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.